You've probably heard people say that cheap motorcycles are junk, that if it isn't brand new, shiny, or packed with the latest gadgets, it's not worth your time. But here's the reality. Some of the greatest bikes ever built are the ones nobody mentions. This countdown isn't for show-offs. It's for smart riders who actually value reliability, simplicity, and bang for the buck. We're breaking down 7 cheap motorcycles that are way better than people think. No hype, no filler, just machines that perform. Let's bust some myths and save you serious cash. Number 7. Kawasaki W650, the Retro Twin. It's not a Triumph, though it might be better. You may have glanced at one before and mistaken it for an old Bonneville, but look closer. That's no Triumph. It's a Kawasaki W650, one of the most underrated vintage-style bikes ever built. While everyone else was running toward the modern retro craze, Kawasaki quietly beat them to it with a bike that was more dependable, often cheaper, and every bit as beautiful. Let's talk engine. A 676cc air-cooled, bevel-driven vertical twin. Yes, bevel-driven, like those old Ducati motors. That little tower on the side. Not just decoration. It's a genuine mechanical drive for the camshaft. Rare, overbuilt, and smooth as silk. Unlike today's fuel-injected retro fakes, this bike came with proper carbs, a kickstarter, electric start, and an honest analog feel. But don't let the looks fool you, it's no garage queen. The W650 has one of the smoothest engines in its class. Around 50 horsepower. Not blistering, but plenty for highway stretches and backroad fun. With strong low-end torque, it's easy to ride in just about any gear. Handling. Surprisingly sharp for a bike styled after the 60s. Slim tires, a lightweight frame, and upright ergonomics make it nimble in the city and stable at higher speeds. So why did it flop? Timing. Kawasaki launched the W650 in the late 90s, before retro bikes were trendy again. By the early 2000s, Triumph came back with the Bonneville, backed by massive marketing, and the W650 was forgotten. But here's the upside. Today, you can pick up a clean W650 for around $3,000, often with tasteful upgrades. Because they were overbuilt and underridden, most have low miles and plenty of life left. Parts. Still available. Community. Loyal and active. Reliability. Classic Kawasaki. Nearly bulletproof. It's the kind of bike strangers will ask about at gas stations. It looks expensive, rides beautifully, and doesn't demand the constant attention of old British bikes. Number 6. Honda CBR250R, the beginner bike that actually lasts. You've probably heard of the Ninja 250 or Honda's newer CBR500R. But tucked right between them is the CBR250R, one of the most overlooked beginner bikes of the past decade and a half. Why? Because it didn't try to show off. It just quietly did everything right. Here's the difference. It's not a high-rev screamer like the Ninja 250. Instead, Honda gave it a single-cylinder 249cc engine, fuel-injected, water-cooled, and surprisingly torquey down low. Perfect for real-world use, commuting, backroads, even light touring. Sure, it won't dominate a drag strip, but it'll cruise at 80 miles per hour on the highway and sip fuel at an impressive 70+ mpg. The secret weapon. Refinement. Smooth throttle response, a light clutch, and strong brakes, especially with ABS. It doesn't feel cheap or buzzy like other beginner bikes. And being Honda, maintenance is simple and infrequent. This thing was built to take abuse and keep on running. So why was it ignored? When it launched in 2011, everyone compared it to the Ninja 250 and complained about the single-cylinder setup. But that simplicity is exactly what made it great. Fewer parts, less complication, and power where new riders actually need it. Honda didn't chase spec sheets. They built a bike that could last 100,000 miles with basic care. Weighing just over 350 pounds wet, it's one of the lightest full-size bikes you'll find. Easy to park, easy to handle, and paired with Honda reliability. Many of these were bought by older, practical riders, so the used market is full of clean, low-mile examples often under $2,000. That's insane value. Fun fact. It was widely used in MSF courses in the US and abroad. Why? Because it's tough. Drop it, scratch it, redline it, It just keeps running. That's real-world dependability. But if you think this is the ultimate underdog, wait until you meet a cruiser even Harley riders respect, at a price you won't believe. Number 5. Yamaha V Star 650, the cruiser Harley riders don't laugh at. If you're curious about cruisers but not willing to fork over Harley-Davidson cash, you've probably looked at the usual suspects. Overpriced sportsters, sketchy Chinese knockoffs, or metric cruisers with odd styling. But sitting in the shadows is the Yamaha V Star 650. Barely noticed in showrooms, but respected on the road. What makes it stand out? The V Star 650 looks, feels, and rides like a proper American cruiser. Long, low, stable, but without draining your wallet or chaining you to a toolbox. Its 649cc air-cooled V-twin is as simple as it comes. Pushrods, carbs, and a shaft drive. No chain cleaning, no fragile electronics, just gas it up and go. Valve checks now and then, that's it. And the styling, spot on. Yamaha knew exactly who they were targeting. Riders wanting Harley vibes without Harley headaches. Big fenders, heavy chrome, and legit proportions. It doesn't scream budget bike, which is why even ex-Harley riders have quietly praised it. In the early 2000s, the V Star 650 Classic and Custom were among the most popular midsize cruisers in the US. Today, forgotten. And that's your opportunity. Clean examples are everywhere for $2,000, $3,000, often with saddlebags, windshields, and tasteful upgrades. Most were owned by older riders and barely used. Add in beginner-friendly features. Super low 27-inch seat height, forgiving clutch, relaxed ergos, and it's a cruiser that works for nearly anyone. But here's the ace up its sleeve, the shaft drive. You almost never see it on a bike this cheap. No chain hassle, no grime, fewer parts to fail. Good luck finding that on a modern $4,000 bike. The V Star won't win drag races or dominate bike nights, but if you want real cruiser charm without flimsy chrome and cut corners, this is the one. Number 4. Honda XR650L, the dual sport that refuses to die. Want rugged? Want simple? Want a bike that'll haul you into the wilderness and back without needing a laptop for diagnostics? That's the Honda XR650L. It looks like it's frozen in time, and that's the point. Honda's been building the XR650L since 1993 with almost no changes. Why mess with success? The formula. A big 644cc air-cooled thumper, carb-fed, with practically zero electronics. No abs, no ride modes, no traction control. Just torque, metal, and a frame that shrugs off abuse. This bike is legendary among hardcore adventurers. Why? Because less stuff breaks, and what does break is easy to fix. Need it for commuting, trails, or even deserts. The XR650L can do it all. And it's street legal from the factory. Sure, it's outdated, but gloriously so. That's what makes it special. Drop it in a rocky stream. No problem. Fix it in the middle of nowhere. A handful of tools is all you need. It's basically built from tank-grade steel and stubbornness. And because it has a cult following, aftermarket support is massive. Want a Baja-ready monster? Easy. Want to soften it for road use? Done. Want to keep it bone stock for decades? Works just as well. Some owners have logged over 100,000 miles with nothing but basic upkeep. So why isn't it more popular? Because it's tall, plain, and doesn't look sexy next to modern adventure bikes with TFT screens. But the XR doesn't care. It just keeps running. And the used market, full of deals around $3,000, often already kitted out with skid plates and bags. This bike doesn't follow trends. It outlives them. Number 3. Suzuki Bandit 1200, the street bruiser nobody mentions. You want torque. You want speed. You want a bike that feels like it's daring you to twist the throttle harder every single time. That's the Suzuki Bandit 1200, a raw, underrated powerhouse that got left behind in the age of electronics and flashy design. And that's exactly what makes it such a bargain today. At its core, the Bandit 1200 is basically a muscle bike infused with sport bike DNA. Suzuki borrowed the old GSX-R 1100 engine, softened it for the street, and dropped it into a steel frame with more comfort and fewer fairings. The result: a 1157cc air, oil-cooled inline-4 with torque you can feel from just 3,000 revolutions per minute. No waiting for the power band, no peaky delivery, just twist and launch. Brutally effective in real-world riding. You don't need to scream it to redline. It pulls in any gear, effortlessly. Touring, commuting, carving traffic, this bike does it all. And with a 5.3-gallon tank, it's got the legs for long rides, too. So why didn't it blow up in popularity? Because Suzuki never built it to impress on showroom floors. No cutting-edge suspension, no fancy electronics, no race pedigree. It was unapologetically a street bike. Riders who bought them tended to keep them quietly, which meant it never got mainstream hype. But now, it's criminally undervalued. You can find a clean Bandit 1200 today for $2,500 $4,000, depending on year and mods. Some are bone stock, others tastefully upgraded with better forks, exhausts, or bars. And the best part, these engines are nearly indestructible. With routine oil changes and basic care, they'll roll past 100,000 miles without fuss. Try saying that about a modern superbike. And unlike today's sensor-loaded, laptop-dependent machines, the Bandit is simple, analog, and wrench-friendly. Want to work on your own bike? No problem. Bottom line, the Bandit 1200 delivers leader bike power, real-world practicality, and old-school durability, all for the cost of a beginner bike. It's not flashy, but it flat-out works. Number 2. Honda NC700X, the commuter that's smarter than it looks. On paper, it reads like a boring commuter. In person, it looks just as plain. But the Honda NC700X is secretly one of the most clever motorcycles ever designed. And because almost nobody hypes it, you can pick one up for way less than it's actually worth. Here's the genius. The engine. The North Carolina 700X runs a 670cc parallel twin borrowed from, you won't believe this, the Honda Fit car engine. It's tuned for low-end torque, not sky-high revs. The redline, just 6,500 revolutions per minute. That makes sportbike guys laugh, until they realize it delivers torque down low, sips fuel like a scooter, and regularly gets 60 to 70 mpg. And the clever design doesn't stop there. The thing that looks like a gas tank. Pop it open. It's a giant storage compartment, big enough for a full-face helmet or groceries. The real fuel tank is hidden under the seat. Not a gimmick, pure practicality. Honda knew this would be a commuter and delivery workhorse, so they made it useful. Comfort. Spot on. Upright riding position, forgiving suspension, decent wind protection, and stable handling. It's stress-free whether you're filtering through traffic or enjoying weekend backroads. And if you score a dual-clutch transmission (DCT) model, you don't even need to shift. Just twist and ride. No clutch lever, no stalling. A total game changer in urban chaos. So why doesn't it sell like crazy? Because it's not sexy. It doesn't scream performance or aggression. Riders chasing image look right past it. But that means prices stay low. You can snag an NC700X for around $3,000, often with low miles and upgrades already bolted on. And like any Honda, it's built to last well past six figures with minimal fuss. Number 1. Buell XB12S Lightning, the American street fighter nobody expected. Think Harley can't build a sport bike. Technically, they didn't. Eric Buell did. And what he created with the XB12S Lightning remains one of the most overlooked, misunderstood motorcycles to ever come from the US. Forget everything you think you know about cruisers and sport bikes, this machine broke all the rules. At its core is a 1,203cc hot-rodded Harley V twin stuffed into a super short aluminum chassis. Wheelbase just 50 inches, shorter than a Ninja 250, yet with freight train torque over 100 pound-feet available right off idle. Redline is only 6,500, but this bike doesn't scream, it growls, and it launches like nothing else. But Buell's genius wasn't just the motor, it was the engineering around it. The frame stores the fuel. The swing arm holds the oil. The front brake. Perimeter mounted directly on the rim, for better cooling and less unsprung weight. It looks insane on paper until you ride one, then you realize how planted and nimble it really feels. The XB12S is a street fighter in the purest form, Upright stance, wide bars, instant throttle response, raw and mechanical. The kind of bike that makes you grin like a maniac every time you crack the throttle. Yet hardly anyone buys them. Why? Because Buell is a brand folded in 2009, Harley owners didn't get it, and sportbike riders didn't trust a Harley-derived motor. Dealers didn't know how to sell something so odd. Values tanked. And now they're a goldmine on the used market. Clean XB12S models run $3,000 to $4,500, often with tasteful mods. Something with real soul, performance, and a story to tell. The Buell XB12S is it. This is the bike you buy when you're done trying to impress people and just want something that works flawlessly every single day.